If one lever the food industry can pull is crunchiness to increase eating experience, then it might be reasonable to assume that satiety and hunger include crunchiness as a variable to determine a given food's value. This then brings up the question of the possible evolutionary pressures for which an algorithm like satiety, we could see hunger as a reverse satiety, would be a useful adaptation to. One then could ask the question whether it is the choice of quantity, different foods, nutrients, or more of a given food, or the choice of quality of a given food that is the thing crunchiness tries to influence. Quantity could mean making a given organism seek out crunchier foods, crunchy apple instead of cadaver. Quality could mean searching for items of a given food with higher value in crunchiness. The crunchy apple, not the mushy, smushy one. Fruits and berries come to mind first. Here it seems somewhat reasonable to assume that the crunchier an apple, at least the more a human on average likes biting into it. If then biting into it isn't followed by biting into a sour apple, i.e. a reward prediction error, then reverse engineering from the existence of such a saying, we can assume that marginally increasing crunchiness of at least an apple would result in higher taste experience. This crunchiness testing method then could be applied to different food categories. Maybe again it might turn out that for fruit in general, but also maybe vegetables, crunchiness to a certain extent correlates with nutrient value, given the food hasn't gone bad, or more precise, a food's ability to satisfy an organism's current nutrient needs. One then could ask for what other non-human created foods and food categories crunchiness serves as a predictor of high nutrient value. Nuts are also a bit better the crunchier. But what is the similarity? It could be a higher water content given the constraints of the otherwise accumulation of matter that is the food. Example, a tomato that is less crunchy might have lost water over days due to the condensation as the skin of the tomato becomes more and more porous. But why does it become more porous? Probably due to degradation processes going on. So is crunchiness to a certain extent maybe not looking for water content relative to the food container? Dried apples are apples with less water and also significantly less volume. Or maybe for the degree of degradation. But then, what about things very high in crunchiness? Wood, for example. If crunchiness predicts nutrient density or the degree of degradation, why does the gradual increase from something plenty to something ligneous not result in anything known as foods? Deer seem to like especially new shots. For this reason, when planting young trees, protecting these with something like this increases the chance of the tree surviving and growing. But then meat. Here it is tricky because fresh meat can be a little crunchy due to high water content, but then dried meat again could also be described as somewhat crunchy. The same is true for dried fruit and vegetables. If one removes volume by removing water, yet all other nutrients staying equal, then the nutrient density might increase significantly, also increasing crunchiness. Examples, dried banana chips, apple chips, dried tomatoes. So after all, it could be that crunchiness maybe has different local and global maxima that correlate with fulfillment of current nutrient needs, dried, optimally fresh, but is still avoiding smushy foods like a bad apple. But here the crunchiness value is probably not too significant for predicting a food's ability to satisfy nutrient needs. Other variables like smell, look, and maybe also taste might be more important.